My name's Callie Bregman, and I'm 32 years old. I've got one daughter, Maren, she's 7, and for the last 4 years it's just been the two of us since her dad and I split. I don't say that for sympathy. I say it because it matters for what happened on that cruise. Every summer, my mother plans this big family trip. Doesn't matter who can afford what, she just decides, and everyone falls in line. This year, it was a 7-day cruise out of Galveston, down through the Gulf, and honestly, Maren had been counting down the days on a paper calendar taped to her bedroom door. She packed her own suitcase 3 weeks early. She kept asking if there'd be a pool with a slide. We were maybe 2 days in when it happened. We were all at the family dinner table, my mom, my stepdad, my brother and his wife and their 2 kids, and Maren, who's always been a little shy, spilled her lemonade reaching for the breadbasket. Just a small accident, the kind kids have. And my mother, in front of the whole table, in front of the waiter, in front of everyone, looked at her and said, "Well, no wonder. Nobody's ever taught this child any manners, have they?" Maren went still. Her face just folded in on itself. That look kids get right before they decide not to cry in public. My mother didn't apologize. She didn't even look at me. She just picked her napkin back up like she'd commented on the weather. I didn't say a word, not one. I reached over, wiped up the lemonade myself, and told Maren it was okay. Accidents happen to everybody. But something in me had already gone quiet and cold. The way water does right before it freezes. Nobody else at the table said anything either. That's the part that stuck with me longer than the comment itself. My brother just kept eating. My stepdad refilled his wine. My mother's version of an apology, later that night, was leaving a chocolate on Maren's pillow and telling me I was being sensitive when I brought it up quietly in the hallway. "She's 7, I told her. You humiliated a 7-year-old in front of strangers." My mother crossed her arms. That same look she's given me my whole life whenever I dared to push back. "I was raised to correct bad behavior at the table, Callie. You should thank me instead of hovering over her like she's made of glass." I didn't argue. I just nodded, said okay, and walked back to our cabin where Maren was already in her pajamas, sitting cross-legged on the bed, quiet in a way that wasn't like her at all. She asked me if Grandma was mad at her. I told her no, baby. Grandma just has bad manners of her own sometimes. And grown-ups don't always know how to say sorry. She seemed to accept that, the way kids accept most things adults tell them, without really believing it. That night, once she was asleep, I sat out on the little cabin balcony with my laptop open, half watching the black water go by, and I thought about every time I'd let comments like that slide, every holiday dinner, every backhanded compliment about my parenting, my choices, my divorce. I'd spent 4 years being the accommodating one, the one who kept the peace, who paid for half of everything these family trips cost so nobody would have an excuse to leave me and Maren behind. I closed the laptop that night without deciding anything. But somewhere underneath the calm, I already knew this was the last cruise my mother would ever plan on my dime. The rest of the cruise went the way these things always do in my family. Smoothed over on the surface, tense underneath. My mother acted like nothing had happened. She even took a photo of the whole family at dinner 2 nights, later and posted it online with some caption about how blessed she was. Maren was in the photo, smiling because I'd asked her to, standing a little apart from her cousins. I smiled too. I laughed at my stepdad's jokes. I let my mother believe the whole thing had blown over, that I was the same daughter who always folded eventually, who always found a way to make peace so the family calendar could keep running the way she liked it. What she didn't know was that I'd spent an hour on that balcony, the first night pulling up a count, statements on my phone. For 3 years, I'd been the one covering the deposit on these family trips. Always so everyone could go together. Always billed to my card first and reimbursed later. Except my mother's reimbursements had a way of getting smaller every year, or forgotten altogether when she decided I owed her for something else. I'd also been paying the flood insurance on my parents' lake house since the year after my divorce, back when my stepdad's hours got cut, and nobody wanted to say the word struggling out loud. Nobody outside my accountant knew that either. I didn't bring any of it up on the ship. I didn't want to have that conversation with 300 strangers around us and Maren close enough to hear. I wanted her to have the rest of the trip. The pool, the slide, the ice cream at midnight, without knowing. Her mother was quietly taking notes on exactly how much she'd been giving to people who couldn't be bothered. To protect her daughter's feelings for 30 seconds at a dinner table. By the time we docked back in Galveston, I had already made 3 phone calls from the ship's spotty Wi-Fi. My mother just didn't know that yet. The first call was to my accountant, confirming exactly how much I'd put into that lake house over 3 years. Flood insurance, 2 roof repairs, a new water heater, the winter pipes froze. The second was to the insurance company itself, asking what it would take to remove myself as the policyholder and let the house go uninsured until someone else stepped up. The third was to my brother, the only person in that family I still half trusted, just to say I wouldn't be covering next year's trip deposit. And if the family wanted to keep doing this every summer, they'd need to figure out a different way to split it. He didn't ask why. He just went quiet on the line the way people do when they already suspect the answer and don't want to hear it out loud. We got off the ship on a Saturday morning, hot and bright, everybody dragging suitcases and gift shop bags toward the parking garage. My mother hugged Maren goodbye, told her to be good for her mama, like nothing at all had happened 4 nights earlier. Maren hugged her back because that's who Maren is, forgiving before she's even been asked to forgive. I hugged my mother too. I told her I'd call her during the week. I let her walk to her car, believing the trip had ended exactly the way every family trip before it had ended. Smoothed over, forgotten, back to normal by the time everyone got home and unpacked. She had no idea that by Monday morning, the insurance cancellation on the lake house would already be processing. She had no idea I'd emailed her landlord friend, the one who'd been trying to buy that house for 2 years, just to say that if she ever heard my parents were finally ready to sell, I might know a buyer. She thought she'd won. She thought a chocolate on a pillow had fixed everything. I let her believe that. For now, 3 weeks later, my mother called me in a panic. The insurance company had sent a lapse notice to the house, and when she called them herself, they told her the policy had been canceled at the request of the policyholder, me. She wanted to know what I thought I was doing, said the house could flood any day now, said I was being reckless with something that wasn't just mine to gamble with. I told her she was right. It wasn't just mine. It never had been. But for 3 years, I'd been the only name attached to protecting it, the only one paying for it, while everyone else got to enjoy it like it fell out of the sky. I told her if the house mattered that much, she and my stepdad could put their names on a policy themselves. She brought up the cruise, said I was punishing her over one comment about table manners. I told her it wasn't one comment. It was every year of comments. And the difference this time was that Maren had been the one sitting there hearing it. I told her I'd spent 32 years learning how to swallow things for the sake of peace, and I wasn't teaching my daughter to do the same. There was a long silence, and then she asked, quieter than I'd heard her in years, if this meant I was done with the family altogether. I told her no. I told her I was done being the family's safety net while getting treated like an afterthought. My parents ended up selling the lake house that fall to a young couple with 2 kids who send them a Christmas card every year. My mother still plans a family trip sometimes. Smaller now, and she still hasn't fully apologized. Not in the way I'd want. But she hasn't humiliated Maren again either. Not once. Not at any table since. Some nights I think about how easy it would have been to just let that dinner go, the way I'd let 100 dinners go before. But watching Maren laugh now, easy and unguarded, taught me that peace built on silence isn't really peace at all.